The film kicks off deep in the darkest corners of the ocean. A massive nuclear submarine lies crippled, sinking fast under the crushing deep-sea pressure. Out of the pitch-black water, a specialized rescue submarine arrives, piloted by Jonas Taylor and his elite team. They are here on a ticking clock, desperate to evacuate the stranded crew before the doomed sub is completely destroyed. Jonas and his team work frantically to pull the crew members out, transferring them into the rescue sub to escape the ocean floor before the inevitable explosion. But out of nowhere, a colossal, unidentified creature violently slams into their vessel, ripping through the exterior. Jonas is completely stunned. It is biologically impossible for any marine life to survive at this extreme depth due to the crushing pressure, yet this monster is tearing them apart. Realizing the nuclear sub is only seconds away from a catastrophic detonation, Jonas manages to save the vast majority of the crew, securing them inside his rescue sub and preparing to launch. But then he makes a horrifying discovery. Two of his fellow crewmates are still trapped inside the nuclear sub, pinned down and completely unable to move because of the creature's relentless assault. Tragically, there is absolutely no way he can help them in time. Forced to make the hardest call of his life, Jonas detaches the rescue sub. The very second they clear the blast zone, the nuclear submarine detonates, obliterated by the sheer force of the water pressure. Jonas survives, but he is emotionally shattered, crushed by the overwhelming guilt of failing to save his two teammates. 5 years later, the story takes us to Mana 1, a state-of-the-art research station anchored in the Pacific Ocean, exactly 320 miles off the coast of China. The primary mission of this massive facility is to explore the absolute deepest, most uncharted depths of the ocean. Jack Morris, the billionaire owner of the station, touches down and is warmly welcomed by Dr. Zhang, the brilliant mind leading the research team. Dr. Zhang introduces Morris to his daughter, Suyin, a highly skilled marine biologist, and his young granddaughter, Meiying. Afterward, Zhang takes Morris on a tour of the jaw-dropping underwater observatory located right beneath the main station. Morris is absolutely blown away by how incredibly advanced his facilities become. He stands mesmerized as massive whales glide gracefully past the glass. Suyin explains that she successfully lured the whales to the station by broadcasting the specific audio frequencies of a female whale, utilizing her deep expertise and knowledge of marine creatures. Dr. Zhang then reveals his latest breakthrough to Morris. He has deployed a deep-sea exploration team commanded by Captain Lori to reach the absolute deepest point of the ocean floor. The team has just made a monumental discovery, a dense cloud-like thermal layer composed entirely of hydrogen sulfide gas, resting 11 kilometers beneath the surface. Even more incredible, beneath this toxic cloud lies an entirely hidden, fully intact marine ecosystem, where creatures, long thought by humanity to be extinct for thousands of years, are still thriving. Right at this moment, Lori and her crew manage to successfully pilot their submarine straight through the gas cloud. Up in the Mana 1 control room, everyone is glued to the monitors, watching her sub's movements. The entire team is ecstatic, celebrating the fact that they have just made history by breaching the deepest place in the ocean. As Lori hits a staggering depth of 20 kilometers, she deploys a series of light units to illuminate the pitch-black abyss. Almost immediately, she spots swarms of bizarre marine creatures that are supposed to be ancient history. She radios her friend DJ up at the station, requesting him to send down a remote hovercraft to explore the area, but without warning, the hovercraft's signal suddenly cuts out. Sirens begin blaring across the Mana 1 control room. The radar shows a gargantuan marine creature closing in extremely fast on Lori's submarine. True to the radar, the massive beast violently attacks the sub. Amidst the chaos, Lori desperately radios Dr. Zhang, reporting that her submarine's engine has been completely destroyed. She tells him that Jonas was right all those years ago. There really is a giant monster lurking in the deep. But before she can finish her sentence, the comms go dead, leaving everyone at the station with no idea what is happening in the dark. Fortunately, the station's monitors pick up their vital signs, confirming that Lori and her team are still alive. Everyone gathers in the control room, deducing that Lori's team has exactly 18 hours before their oxygen completely runs out. They urgently need someone to go down and save them. Mac, the software engineer, states that there is only one person in the world capable of descending to that extreme depth: Jonas, the very man who rescued the nuclear sub 5 years ago. But Dr. Heller fiercely objects. He calls Jonas a reckless lunatic who abandoned his teammates to die, an act that got him fired and labeled mentally unstable. It is revealed here that Heller was actually one of the crew members Jonas saved, and he harbors deep hatred for Jonas for not saving the rest of their friends. Despite Heller's objections, Dr. Zhang makes the final call to assign Jonas the mission, knowing no one else can pull it off. Mac and Zhang track Jonas down to recruit him, but Jonas flat out refuses. He insists it is absolutely impossible for him to ever return to the sea, explaining that after saving the subcrew, he was unfairly accused of negligence, even though he was forced into that impossible situation. In response, Mac plays the final distress recording of Captain Lori begging for help with the dead engine. The plot thickens as we discover that Lori is actually Jonas's ex-wife, and they used to work on the same team. Hearing her voice forces Jonas to finally accept the rescue mission. Down in the trench, Lori and her team are frantically trying to repair the engine, but Lori accidentally flips on the submarine's external lights. The sudden illumination provokes the creature, and it violently attacks again. The cabin ruptures, and Lori is severely injured when a screwdriver pierces her stomach. Up at the station, Su Yin realizes Lori's sub just took another hit, causing a massive leak in their oxygen tank. The 18-hour window has just shrunk to less than 2 hours. Refusing to wait, Su Yin hijacks her own submarine and dives into the abyss to save Lori's team. Just as Jonas arrives at Mana 1, Jax, the station engineer, briefs him on the oxygen leak. Jonas immediately boards his submarine to head to the ocean floor. Inside, he finds young Mei Ying, who begs him to save her mother. Jonas makes a solemn promise that he will not return from the water without Su Yin. Jonas launches into the depths. To push his submarine to maximum speed, he dangerously disables the engine's safety protocols, a move that highly impresses Jax. He radios the station, telling them he's cutting all comms to conserve power for any incoming threats. Meanwhile, Su Yin reaches the ocean floor with all her sub's lights blazing. After searching, she locates Lori's crippled sub and attempts to fire a towhook to pull them to safety. But her bright lights attract a nightmare. A colossal giant octopus emerges from the dark and attacks her, wrapping around her sub and trying to crush it. Suddenly, a terrifying 25-meter-long shark bursts into view and devours the massive octopus whole. Su Yin frantically reports everything to the station. Jonas, who is still on his way down, hears her transmission. He tells her the beast is a megalodon, the undisputed king of sharks and the most powerful marine predator on Earth. He orders her to kill her lights immediately because the Meg is drawn to them. He then commands her to fire her thrusters and escape to the surface, warning her that if she stays, the Meg will not leave Lori's sub, making the rescue impossible. Convinced, Su Yin blasts toward the surface. Jonas finally reaches Lori's sub and docks with it to evacuate her, as she's badly injured. Before he can transfer the rest of the crew, his radar pings. The megalodon is coming back. Knowing they're out of time, a crew member named Toshi makes the ultimate sacrifice to save his friends. He quickly seals the submarine hatch, trapping himself inside to act as bait. He triggers the release mechanism, pushing Jonas's sub safely away. Once he confirms his friends are clear, Toshi flips on the floodlights, luring the megalodon right to him. The submarine explodes, and Toshi is killed. When Jonas returns to the station, a devastated Su Yin accuses him of leaving Toshi to die, just like he did with his crew 5 years ago. Jonas furiously fires back, telling her that Toshi chose to sacrifice himself, and that Su Yin is the one responsible, because she recklessly dove into the trench in the first place. Later on, Su Yin visits his room to apologize. She admits she lost her temper because she was heartbroken over Toshi, who leaves behind a wife and children. The next day, Su Yin briefs the station officials, explaining that the megalodon existed over 2 million years ago and was supposed to be completely extinct. She details that it is the ultimate predator, capable of taking down a full-grown whale with ease. Dr. Zhang, Su Yin's father, insists they must instantly halt all deep-sea diving operations to avoid any further encounters with the megalodon, warning that more exploration will bring the beast to the surface and kill them all. Morris completely cuts him off. He states he sank $1 billion into this station and outright refuses to pause the exploration as it would cost him a massive fortune. Meanwhile, young Mei Ying is playing with her ball in the underwater glass corridor. Suddenly, the megalodon appears right behind her, aggressively ramming the glass to eat her. She screams in pure terror. Jonas and Su Yin rush in to check on her. Mei Ying tells her mother about the giant shark trying to break the glass. When they see the massive bite marks etched into the reinforced window, they realize it is the megalodon. Just then, a whale swims near the glass, seemingly asking for help. The megalodon violently ambushes the whale, devouring it right in front of them. This officially confirms the beast has breached the depths, and the crew deduces it could attack the station itself. Dr. Zhang desperately tries to figure out how the megalodon escaped the trench, especially since the hydrogen sulfide cloud acts as a physical barrier preventing deep-sea creatures from crossing. They realize a horrifying truth. When Jonas's sub rocketed up from the depths, it punched a temporary thermal corridor through the cloud. The megalodon followed him through it. Once the shark cleared the cloud, the thermal corridor collapsed, trapping the megalodon on the surface. Unable to return to the deep, it is now roaming the open ocean and is a lethal threat to every single ship in the water. Jonas proposes they set a trap to kill the shark before it destroys the station and slaughters them all. Just as he speaks, they intercept a frantic distress signal from 3 marine vessels. They grab a boat and speed toward the coordinates to investigate. Arriving at the scene, they find all 3 ships completely decimated. Realizing the megalodon is responsible, they decide to hunt it down and attach a tracking dart to it so they can pinpoint its location and lure it in. They prep a shark-proof cage, but it's useless because the Meg will easily destroy their ship if they move too close. Someone has to get in the water alone to manually plant the tracker. Jonas volunteers for the suicide mission. He slips quietly into the water, silently approaches the beast, and plants the tracker directly onto its fin. He immediately tries to swim away, but the shark senses him and attacks. At the absolute last second, DJ yanks Jonas out of the water and onto the boat, saving his life. Next, they prep the shark-proof cage, and Su Yin suits up to go inside. Jonas asks her to let him take the risk instead, making it very clear he has strong feelings for her. But Su Yin shuts him down, stating she is the only one who can do this. As a marine biologist, she is the only one who knows the precise anatomical spot to inject the lethal toxin. She enters the cage and is lowered into the ocean. They toss Chum into the water to bait the megalodon. The beast approaches, and Su Yin successfully jams the poison spear into its flesh. But before the toxin can take effect, the shark fails to bite through the cage and instead decides to swallow the entire cage whole, with Su Yin inside. Jonas dives straight into the water and grabs the cage's tether, desperately trying to pull Su Yin to safety. But the Meg pulls back with incredible force, completely shattering the boat's lifting winch. During the violent thrashing, Su Yin's oxygen mask cracks and she loses consciousness. Jonas manages to pry her out of the wrecked cage at the very last second and hauls her toward the surface. They turn to see the megalodon charging right at them, ready to eat them both. But suddenly, the beast slows down and stops, finally dying as the poison courses through its veins. Jonas pulls Su Yin onto the boat and revives her. Waking up, she thanks him for saving her life yet again. The research team successfully hauls the dead megalodon up, hanging it from the ship's crane. The Wall, the electrical engineer, asks Jonas to take a picture of him next to the massive carcass. As the crane shifts, the Wall loses his balance and falls into the water. Everyone laughs at him, but the laughter stops when a second, unimaginably massive megalodon breaches the surface. It swallows the Wall whole and then takes a massive bite out of the dead megalodon hanging from the crane. The crew is horrified to realize this new Meg is at least 35 meters long, much bigger than the one they just killed. The colossal shark rams the ship, sending everyone tumbling into the water. Surfacing, they find Dr. Zhang severely injured and bleeding heavily. The blood draws the megalodon back, and it attacks, devouring Dr. Heller before swimming away. The surviving crew is absolutely terrified. DJ loses his nerve completely, demanding Morris evacuate them from the area since he is in charge. Mac rushes to the lifeboats and the crew piles in to escape back to the station. But to their horror, the massive megalodon is following right behind them. Morris immediately gets on the radio with his assistant, ordering a private helicopter for an instant extraction to escape the shark. The chopper arrives, carrying a heavily armed mercenary who shoots a tracking dart into the Meg, followed by a barrage of gunfire to drive it away from the crew's lifeboats. On the tense ride back to the station, Su Yin breaks down crying as her father, Dr. Zhang, succumbs to his injuries, and dies. Back at Mana 1, Jonas tries to comfort her while she sends Maying away so the little girl doesn't see her dead grandfather. Morris then gathers the surviving crew. He claims he has officially contacted the Chinese government, briefing them on the megalodon situation. He announces he is temporarily shutting down the station until the military kills the beast, promising that Chinese military helicopters will arrive within 24 hours to evacuate everyone. That night, Morris's private chopper lands. He leaves the station and speaks with his assistant, revealing his true plan. He intends to kill the megalodon himself. It is his only chance to recoup the massive financial losses from the ruined research project. We discover Morris never actually called the Chinese government. He wants to keep it a secret because if the authorities find out people died under his watch, he will go to prison. Tracking the beast via the radar ping, Morris orders his heavily armed crew to lock onto the target and fire high-explosive missiles. After the strike, his men confirm the target is dead. Morris demands they land so he can personally inspect the kill. He orders his men to extract a tooth from the carcass to display as a trophy in his office. But his men inform him the carcass has no teeth. Morris realizes with horror that they just bombed a normal whale. The real megalodon is lurking directly beneath them. It used the dead whale as bait to lure them in. Panicking, Morris scrambles onto a speedboat with his men to escape, but he loses his balance and falls off the boat completely unnoticed. Stranded in the water, he climbs atop the bloody whale carcass to hide, but the colossal megalodon rises from the depths, spots him, and swallows him whole. The next morning, Jonas and the rest of the research team realize Morris lied to them and never alerted the Chinese authorities. Taking matters into their own hands, they hack into Morris's private satellite to pinpoint the megalodon's exact location to kill it themselves. To their absolute horror, the satellite shows the megalodon heading straight for Sanya Bay in Dalian, China, the most densely populated tourist beach in the entire world. They frantically brainstorm a way to save the thousands of swimmers before the slaughter begins. Su Yin comes up with a brilliant plan. She can lure the shark away from the crowded beach using a broadcasted audio recording of a whale call, knowing that whales are the megalodon's absolute favorite prey. The team agrees. They prep their ships and submarines, racing out to intercept the monster and pull it away from the shoreline. Unfortunately, they are too late. The megalodon breaches the crowded beach, launching a terrifying assault on the tourists, devouring anyone in its path. But the moment it registers the broadcasted whale audio, it abandons the shoreline and turns toward the deep water, hunting the source of the sound. Waiting for it are Jonas and Su Yin, strapped into their combat submersibles, armed with high-explosive torpedoes. As the beast approaches the team's main ship, Jonas realizes he cannot fire his torpedoes without catching his own crew in the blast radius. He's forced to pilot his sub away, acting as bait to draw the megalodon after him. Su Yin gets a clear lock and fires her missile, but the megalodon is so massive that the explosion barely phases it. Meanwhile, high above the chaos, a news helicopter hovering to film the carnage accidentally collides with another chopper. The flaming wreckage plummets out of the sky, crashing directly onto Jonas's team's ship. The impact forces the entire crew to abandon ship and jump into the shark-infested waters. Little Mei Ying and DJ are stranded in the open ocean. Su Yin races over in her sub to protect them before the shark locks onto their scent. But luck is against them. The megalodon zeroes in on their position, and they are completely trapped. Seeing this, Jonas radios the team declaring he will draw the beast away and fight it entirely on his own. He pushes his sub to the limit, speeding directly toward the colossal shark. In a game of underwater chicken, Jonas angles his sharp wing of his submarine right into the beast's underbelly, slicing it open and causing it to bleed heavily. Enraged, the megalodon launches a devastating counterattack, violently crushing Jonas's sub in its jaws. Just before the glass shatters completely, Jonas ejects from the cockpit. Free floating in the water, he grabs a razor-sharp spear from the wreckage and plunges it directly into the megalodon's eye, finally killing the apex predator. The massive amount of blood in the water triggers a feeding frenzy, drawing dozens of normal sharks that swarm in and devour the megalodon's carcass. Having finally destroyed the beast, Jonas surfaces from the water. He climbs aboard a raft, sits down with Su Yin and Mei Ying, and asks them if they want to go on a vacation together. The first movie ends. And that wraps up today's story. but what did you think of that ending? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, make sure to subscribe to Movie Recaps Hour, and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on the best movies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.